Hi guys, Jenny with On Fire Fit, and we are talking about sugar today and my infamous sugar detox. And I just wanted to give you some details on why you might want to consider doing a sugar detox, whether you are doing it with us or on your own, and how we are going to go about that. But I just wanted to talk a little bit, depending on when you watch this video, because I do post these and leave them for years. You may be not at the time of when this is actually currently happening in world events, but we're currently going through a lot of problems with the virus and also with rioting. And this may seem like an odd time to go about a sugar detox. Sometimes when people are very stressed and anxious about things going on in life, the last thing they want to do is focus on things that maybe they consider to be adding more stress. But I would contend that by removing sugar, you are already going to be helping the problem. And the reason is that sugar in and of itself creates its own set of problems like inflammation. It can actually cause issues with the way that you think, how you feel. And so I actually think it is a perfect time to do a sugar detox. It's something that you can do because a lot of times we feel out of control when these things are happening around us. People want to have some sense of control. Again, I'm being in the believer and knowing that God ultimately has control. He, though, also asks us to partner with Him. And if we sit back and wait for things to happen, then we will never really move forward in life. So we can pray and ask for God to do His will and to really bring heaven to earth. But if we're not doing our part and we're waiting for some magical time, we are not honoring the spirit that He put in us, that it gives us the ability to have self-control and power and wisdom and to love other people as we love ourselves. So as we're learning to love ourselves, we are going to actually have the manifestation of it in helping love other people, because we all know that when you feel better, you act better, you talk better, and you respond to people better. And so I think it's actually a perfect time to do a sugar detox. So whether you're watching this in current time or it's down the road, really consider that sugar has a big impact on not only your health physically, but on how you think and act. And so it's always a good time to do a sugar detox. So we're going to talk a little bit about why it matters. And there's two parts to the whole sugar thing. A lot of times people are like, well, I can get rid of the sugar, but what about all the processed carbs and things? And so I really believe that they kind of go hand in hand in a way. You could get very basic and just try to remove sugar, but I don't believe that it has its full effect unless you're really focusing on whole foods and trying to get rid of the processed foods. And I'll explain a little bit of the reason why. I really think that what we do matters a lot more than what we know, but I do believe that when I understand things better, deeper level of understanding, it is part of what makes me want to do more and kind of act on that knowledge. So don't just fill your head with a bunch of knowledge that you don't actually go out and make use of, but it is really cool how our body works, and therefore it helps us to want to do those things. So a lot of what I talk about is information that I have just read from other people. It is not that I've come up with some brand new idea, but it is my gathering of a lot of information. Most of you know that I've been in the medical field for, 97 was when I started. So what does that put us at? 23 years, I think. And so I've seen things evolve over time. Some of the advice we used to give many years ago, it has changed quite a bit, but that is the practice of life. That is the practice of medicine, and that we learn and grow and try to adapt to the new information we get and don't get stuck in old ways of thinking. And so I think it's really cool if we can kind of learn and grow and then implement the things that we learn. So, one of the things that we have to really zero in on is how our body reacts to food, depending on what you put in your body. The old way of thinking was calories in and calories out. We used to think that it didn't really matter where the calories came from. If you kept them at a certain level and you exercised and you basically negated those calories or even caused a deficit by over exercising how much you ate, that you would lose weight. We now know that it's not like that. It doesn't work that way, that our body actually has hormones that come out and are altered by the type of food we eat. So 1,500 calories that is all whole foods versus 1,500 calories of fast food, your body reacts extremely differently to. And so because of that, we can't just say, it doesn't really matter if I eat a candy bar or a plate of broccoli. It does matter because of the hormones, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I am going to do a series of videos that talks about this, and so I can't put it all into one video without it being overwhelming. So I'm just going to kind of take little topics as we go. And the first one is just going to be talking kind of about the basics of how your body reacts to foods that you eat. So when we ingest food, different foods will cause a different level of insulin response. So you have in your body your pancreas, and the pancreas secretes something called insulin. And insulin is the thing that helps us to use the food that we've eaten. Okay, now if you eat certain foods that are either high in sugar or high in processed carbs, so these are things that don't have much fiber, they went to a factory to be made. If you're eating very much of that, you are going to get a big shoot up in your insulin. If you eat a lot of whole foods, such as vegetables, you're eating meats, healthy fats, and we'll talk about some of those things down the road too. But if you are eating a lot of those more whole foods that didn't have to go through a factory to make it onto your plate, your insulin will go up a very small amount. And the reason that that matters is when you have a big surge of insulin, your body is not able to make use of the fat that's stored in your fat cells to the same degree as a low insulin level. So when you're in a state of high insulin in your body, repeatedly, often, daily, your fat stores are not going to be tapped into. It is a good idea to tap into those fat stores, and I'm sure you're all familiar with why. We want to make use of that. And your first storage place is your liver for your glucose. But once you overfill the liver, then it spills off, basically, I'm kind of making it simple terms, but into your fat cells. And so in order to get to those fat cells to help them clean out, we have to make sure the liver has stayed cleaned out and that it's going through its processing correctly. And we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by having a high insulin level that doesn't allow us to tap into those energy stores. So it is very critical what kind of food we put in our bodies so we keep our insulin level low, and therefore our body is able to process through the foods that we're eating and basically clean out. You know, it's a good thing to have trash day every week. If you wait for weeks and weeks and weeks to put out your trash, pretty soon you've got overfilled bins, and now you have to start storing it in your garage. So this is kind of my weird little way of explaining that, thinking about your trash bins as your liver. And you know that if you forget to put your trash bins out every week, your bins are going to get too full, and then you have extra bags of trash that you have to put somewhere else. And in our bodies, when our liver gets too full and we're not cleaning that out on a regular basis, for us it's every night, but we're going to equate that to trash day. And if you're not doing that on a regular basis, then you're basically storing up bags of trash in your garage or wherever on the side of your house, and that's your fat cells. And so what we want to do is get to that point where we're emptying out that trash regularly, okay? And that way we don't end up with that accumulation that has to go into the fat cells. So that's why it's really important to think about what you're putting in your mouth. Now, sugar and processed carbs, because they break down quickly in your bloodstream, they require a lot of insulin. So we know that when we put that stuff in, insulin goes up, storage is not getting emptied out. So what do? You choose foods that are going to be higher in protein, healthy fat, vegetables. Always the basis for everything would be vegetables, some fruit, and then I would say more of what we call complex carbs. I like to go more with like a root vegetable or fruit, and then try to go with the more low glycemic index fruits, such as berries. But all of those foods that were made the way God made them, our body knows what to do with them. So this is why it's important to do something like a sugar detox. If you've gotten to the point where your taste buds are super addicted to sugar, you can break that cycle. But sometimes it requires a line in the sand. It requires a decision and a ability to step away from it long enough that your taste buds wake up. We've done the sugar detox multiple times in the past. My family is actually doing it again as a group with other people that I'm kind of coaching. But the things that we've done in the past, when I had, let's see, how old was my son? He was probably 9 at the time that he decided he wanted to do the sugar detox. He said, he was on board with it. And for a kid, they might not know exactly what they're getting into, but I did explain to him that sugar detox meant elimination of certain things, and he agreed. And I've told this story millions of times, but if you have not heard it yet, I always give my kids good foods and stuff, but I'm not real stringent on sugar all the time. And also just the hidden sugars. So when we removed all of that stuff, a few days into that sugar detox, he had a plate of bananas and he was eating that as his snack. And he was saying, "Where did you buy these bananas? These bananas are so sweet." And I said, "No, sweetheart, they're the same bananas." And he goes, "No, they have to have sugar on them." And I'm like, "No, your taste buds just woke up. You're just not used to the taste of true sweetness." And this happened in various ways. So when we got away from any kind of like lemonades or juices or sodas, and they would drink things like LaCroix, in the beginning they were like, "I can hardly taste it. It doesn't taste like anything." If you're not familiar with LaCroix, LaCroix is just one brand of a sparkling water. And what you would look for on the label is for it to say sparkling water and fruit essence, or essence of fruit, because anything else that goes in there, whether it's sugar or sucralose or aspartame, is just going to keep your taste buds in a heightened sense of sweetness, and it's not going to detox your taste buds. So I had them drinking that if they wanted some different flavor besides water. And after a few days of sugar detox, they were like, "Oh, this must have something that you added to it, because a few days ago it didn't taste like anything, and now I can taste the flavor." And they have all different kinds, like tangerine or passion fruit or lemon lime. And so, now I can taste lemon lime. And I said, "It's no different. Your taste buds just woke up." So you have to be willing to give yourself a few days. Just like if you're trying to lower your salt intake, for a little while it tastes like food is more bland, but then over time your taste buds recognize salt very quickly. The same thing happens with sugar. And so we know that just taking a break from it wakes up your taste buds. At the same time, I would recommend that you try to eat more whole foods, because not only are we trying to avoid that insulin spike, but it's just going to satisfy you more. When people eat a lot of high carb and especially high processed carbs, you create a cycle where you are perpetually needing more carbs, and you need more of that rush because your body gets used to a certain level of insulin and it feels weird when it comes down. What we want to do is create a new set point so that your body is really regulated at the level it's supposed to be. And I work with diabetics all day long. And when their blood sugars are very high and they start coming down even close to the normal range, they don't feel very well because their blood sugar has been so high for so long. And it takes some gradual work to start to feel better. But I tell you, the people that get into the normal range without a bunch of medicines and insulins and stuff like that have so much more energy, they sleep better, they feel better, they lose weight, and it's just amazing. And so the whole reason that I really do all of this is because I don't want to just sit and give people medicine all day. And unfortunately, there's very few patients that I have that actually are willing to make lifestyle changes. So on the side, besides my regular job, I really like to see people make improvements in their health and get off of medicine. My one friend Jack has made amazing progress since January. I can't even remember exactly how many pounds of weight he's lost, but he has done this. He's been off of sugar. I'm going to say it's probably 150 days by now. He's been off of sugar. He has been eating lower carb. The carbs he does eat are the ones that I recommend, like sweet potato, root vegetable kind of things. And his blood sugar is better than mine. He has lost so much weight. He feels good. He feels the change in his life because of it and how he is with his family and everything. And is it hard? Yeah, it's hard, but it's really hard to have disease. It is really hard to know that you're putting off something that's good for you. It is really hard to live with a conscience that every day is saying, why do you keep doing this to yourself? That's much harder, honestly. It is really painful to drag around all that extra baggage of guilt or feeling rotten or just not moving forward. That feels a whole lot worse than a few times where you have to put your foot down and just say, I'm not going to do it today. I'm not going to eat that junk. Honestly, you will be so much happier if you can make a commitment, draw the line in the sand, and be willing to step into it. So what we're going to do during this process is Sugar Detox. I always say we have two options. I do have a handout if you want the actual information in writing. And one option is to go hardcore. I always go hardcore. And then, and my family always goes hardcore. They never choose Hello Kitty. Even my son, he's like, nope, if we're doing it hardcore. But that's an option. So hardcore is no sugar of any kind, not even hidden sugar. So even your ketchup. Thankfully, we have no sugar added ketchup in our fridge right now, but no sugar added to spaghetti sauce or bread or cereal or any of that kind of stuff. And you also look for hidden fake sugars. So you don't want sucralose or Splenda or aspartame, any of those kinds of things, sweet and low. Not even stevia during hardcore, even though stevia is something that I say people can use because it just keeps your taste buds tasting sweetness and you want to break that cycle. So we do a lot of whole foods. You eat a lot of things that are made the way God made them, and we focus in on that. And I've got some information if you want to just get some ideas on how to go about that. Hello Kitty version is that you are just getting rid of the blatant sugars like desserts or sugary drinks, that kind of thing. But you're not necessarily looking at a label to see if your peanut butter has sugar in it. You're just staying away from desserts and other forms of sweet drinks and things like that. When are we going to start? Well, as this video posts, it's going to be starting on Monday. I'll put the information surrounding this video. And it will be 2 weeks worth of going full bore. Usually the third week is when I say, okay, I want you to evaluate how you're feeling and what you're going to do if you're going to keep going with it. We know that habits really take longer than 2 weeks, but I do think that once you go through a 2-week period, you have broken that cycle. And then at that point, you can decide what you want to do. We all need to know that there's a finish line, right? So if you know there's a finish line in 2 weeks, that doesn't sound too horrible. I can do that. then once you get to the finish line, it's like, okay, how do I feel? And do I want to keep going with? If you're somebody like Jack, you keep going and you say, why would I not want to feel amazing? So you keep going. But that's up to you. I will be posting videos, and I'll be posting some on YouTube. I will share them with various social media sites. I do have a closed group where we do it too. But if you want to join the closed group, that's great. It doesn't cost anything. If you want to just kind of follow along, then it would really be helpful if you subscribe to the YouTube video and if you hit the notification bell so it'll remind you when I post things. But basically, just keep coming back to look for more videos as we talk about this along the way. Again, I want you to be motivated to move forward in a healthy way in your life. And this is just a great way to do that. We all know that once you make a commitment and start moving forward in a new healthy direction, you don't have to meet the goal yet. You just have to be making progress to really feel that you're improving in life, and it changes your mindset. By the way, I wore a cotton candy top today. I was like getting dressed and I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks like spun cotton candy. No, this little pink chiffon looking thing. It's your last hurrah, no more sugar for you. Okay, so anyway, I hope that that makes some sense. I hope that you're motivated to come along with us. And as always, I hope that you are living your life on fire.